Yes, so we are live and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for another office hours. And today I have my colleague Socrates, who's joined us for I think the first time for the office hours. It's something that we're trying to
Yes.
keep the cadence. So Socrates, I think that I might butcher kind of all the introduction for you. So I might just hand it over to you right there and just tell us a bit about yourself, share with the audience.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Emil. I'm very happy to be in this first office hour at Novu. So, my name is Socrates. I live in Athens, Greece. I've been in the software space for more than 15 years. Hopefully, I don't look that old at this point. Uh, I was building SaaS products for around 8 years, and then I switched to DevTools. Novu is actually the second DevTool I'm doing, and it's all about getting the developers and building something from developers for developers, as I like saying to my team. Um, Before Novo was at Clerk. Clerk is one of the best modern authentication solutions you can use nowadays, especially for those who are using cutting edge tech like Next.js, React, TypeScript, etc. Clerk is the de facto authentication standard at this point. I'm really proud that the team has gone so far after almost 4 years. And now it's Novo, and we want to do the same thing for the notification space. And I guess that's one of the reasons I'm here with you today. There's a lot of ways to do this. Open source start from a different background, a very strong open source community. Novu, I said open source. Novu starts from a different background with a very strong open source community and a more end-to-end solution. But right now it's time to apply polish to all the outlets that Novu offers. Build components that I guess is going to be a big part of the conversation we're going to have today, and also bring another very exciting way of doing things in the mix. We used to call it internally Echo. We call it the new workflow definition step, and I guess we're going to touch that as well.
Yeah, we're definitely going to tackle those points. Can you maybe share with me and the audience when you first kind of saw or came across Novu? What was your thoughts, your reactions? Like, was it when you kind of was looking for your next opportunity, or it's something that kind of was passing by and you noticed even earlier? And just how you saw this kind of problem and the solution for it.
Oh, that's a good question. So the first time I actually heard about Novu was through a competitor. So I was running a pet project and I was really bored when it comes to email template management. So I wanted to offload that, especially because I wasn't using Rails for that project and there was no good built-in solution. So there's a lot of solutions in TypeScript that I was using at the time. And but I had to do all the plumbing, bring the libraries together, make sure they work, and then build what I wanted to build. Mm-hmm. So I ended up in one of our competitors. I tried using the product, and I was like, okay, yeah, it kind of solves the problem, but let's see what else is out there. Then I started doing the normal, the regular queries like X competitors, X alternatives. yada, and I ended up in Novu's website. I think I signed up at the time. I tried a little bit. The truth is, I'm going to be blatantly honest. I ended up using another competitor, not the original one.
Okay.
The pet project yeah. I mean, the pet project doesn't exist at this point. It was just random thinking. Now it's not, it's dead. So it doesn't really matter. But then we started talking like after I think a year or so. It was
really?
When we started
so it was it was a year period between kind of when you first noticed Novu and then you
yes.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. And my first reaction was like, okay, I'm really curious what does Novu mean? Like that was my first question. Like it's a very cool name. I also saw some at the time they were more prominent about the old name of the company, like Notifier Apps.
Notifier, yeah. Notifier
yeah,
apps,
they were.
Right.
there were way more, let's say, leftovers from that name.
Yes.
And I was like, this is a very cool and short name, and I'm really curious to learn more about it.
I'm so glad that the naming thing, that the naming change that we did back in the days was successful, because I do remember the naming kind of brainstorming and what options did we have, and it was ridiculous in many ways because for those of you who don't know, Novu, the previous name was Notifier, but because of trademark stuff, we needed legally just to change the name to something else. So I'm really glad that it turns out to be a cool name.
No, I mean, short name, just 4 letters. It does the job.
By
It
the
works.
book. By the book.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So and you ended up using the competitor for your pet project, but the overall experience that you had, kind of when you sign up and decided to explore a bit, do you at least remember some of what of your thoughts back then?
I think the overall experience wasn't bad at all. I think that one of the main reasons was the fact that it was very prominent at the time
Mm-hmm.
that Novu was the open source leader in the
Mm-hmm.
space, but at the same time, this kind of made me think that okay, I might have to do more work than I actually want to do at this point. I
Mm.
need a pure cloud solution. Right now, Novu remains the open source leader, but at the same time also remains it's one of the best cloud providers out there. So the story is not the same anymore, and
Yeah.
I guess we don't have the same fear by our new customers, by the people who actually sign up today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really hope that that's the case. And I know that the whole company and the whole community and everyone who's kind of contributing to it on a daily basis are definitely striving for that exact goal. So that's good. And in terms of kind of when you joined or when you saw the opportunity to chime in and to actually put your work and to put your efforts into Novu, what you had in mind and what you have in mind currently.
I mean, basically, it ticked all the boxes I had at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it ticks the boxes now. Another good, like, right now my role is not 100% hands-on and technical. Like, there's a lot of people management in it. There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of planning and
Mm-hmm.
high-level planning for the next 6 months or a year. The truth is that one of the things that actually we're very good about Nova, and I think it's in a remarkable state for, let's say, the status of the startup
Mm-hmm.
is the handbook. So I didn't have, let's say, the time to have different expectations than the ones you guys already set for me. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, I started reading the handbook and I was like, okay, perfect. Most of the stuff in here resonated 100% with what I think and what I like in a company, what I like in a product, most importantly.
Yeah.
So you kind of set the expectations.
Yeah, that's actually a crazy motion. Like when the overall approach of being open source and being very transparent, for example, like starting with the code that we have, but then we like took it to the next level where, okay, if we're transparent with the code and everything that we are building, why not to be transparent about how we operating and how we have, like, what is the general approach and the way of doing stuff in the company. And that's how the handbook was made and curated. So and you are not
Yes.
the first one who's saying that, which is very amazing. And I'm personally glad that we went with that approach.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a very good investment. It paid off and it will pay off
So
in the future.
you had your expectations per se established right from the bat. And what was your let's say, again, I would use the word expectations for what you could bring to the innovation or the next stage of the company and what we are building. So
I mean, right now we're in this process of I don't want to say extreme innovation, but we are in this quarter that we really want to innovate in two very big directions. The first one is the component, and the other direction is the code first workflow definition step. The component direction is very important for a very simple reason. It just justifies the evolution of the API in a way. The best example I have in mind. Yes, right.
I actually just wanted you to clarify, like when you are saying component, and I know that the word component or the definition of it is just varies a bit for kind of each person. So I just would like you to clarify what you mean by component and API component.
Actually, thanks for doing that. This is a very good observation. So when we talk component, we talk about we talk mostly about front-end components, and we apply like that can be used and can be applied to any application and bring value out of the box. So far, components were stateless in a way. They were mostly presentational components. For example, I didn't want to build my own dialogue. There was no reason to do so. I would bring an UI library and I would use it. But right now, we're moving into a new era of components that are actually complete flows. So, for example, we have a component that completes a sign-up. We have a component that manages notifications. We have a component that handles the whole search experience in a website. We have a component that handles pricing. And the truth is that all of these functionalities, if you take any web application that's actually premium, you will find all of these functionalities in all of them. It's basically the cross-cutting concerns that developers keep building and building and building. You need them, but at the same time, they are not the main value proposition of your own product. So we can, let's say we're building a product together, and the product is focusing, I don't know, it's a price comparator. We can build the best sign-in experience. The truth is, our product won't be great because we have a great sign-in experience. Everybody likes a great sign-in experience, but the goal of our product is to make sure that people get the best prices for what they're looking for.
Right.
On the other hand, everybody today has Google-level expectations. Like they all want the Google-like sign-in experience. It says Facebook-like sign-in experience.
Yeah.
And this takes time. Like you need developers and you need a lot of time. You have a small team, especially in the early stages. You have to prioritize carefully. That's why components became very, very, very expensive and very time relevant at this point. And Clerk, my previous company, was kind of the leaders in the game. It was the main motto of our CEO at the time. It took almost 2.5 years painstakingly emphasizing on that movement. Initially, it wasn't resonating with anyone. And then suddenly, it took off. And right now, we see more and more companies joining the game.
Do you think it's a critical mass question, like how many components you have that you are offering, and that therefore you kind of providing the developer or the one who is building an app with, like, the more you provide the complete suite of what is required, the more you are appealing to your customer, like your user.
I don't think it has to do with the number of components per se. I think it has to do with the quality of the component. You can have one component, but you can nail it. There's some good companies out there that are just building one component. And there are other components that have a suite of 20 or 30 components. The question is how good that component is when it comes to tackling my use case and my problem. Because signing, at the end of the day, is the same in every website, but at the same time, it's not always the same. So these nitty-gritty details, when you need this minor customization, it has to be easy for you. That's what makes a good component.
The first component that I naturally comes to my mind when talking about Novu is the notification center or the notification feed. That was kind of the first component that we are offered out of the box, and I know that a lot of users, a lot of developers were joining and really benefiting from that because they just did not want to design this kind of bell icon that you are pushing and you're getting your notification feed and you're getting the notification kind of already embedded in it, and you don't need to design too much. You just kind of change a bit the styling, but you kind of have it out of the box. And I know that was I will call it a primary hook for a lot of developers in terms of like trying Novu, because it just was appealing how easy and how fast it was just to bake it into your navbar or something.
Exactly, that's spot on. It's actually a very early validation that we're in the right direction, and at the same time, it was the most successful channel for our customers. And we have data. Like, this is not a hypothesis. This is based on actual data.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that's actually very important to emphasize at this point is that yes, it takes time to design the bell icon, figure out the interaction, the UI, UX, the animations, yada yada. However, the new components also gives us another benefit.
Mm-hmm.
It also takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to maintain the API that powers the component, sends the notifications, makes it real time, make sure that you get one notification or not 100 same notifications if something goes bad when it comes to triggering notifications,
Mm-hmm.
making sure you have preferences. All of these details that are very important into having a very smooth notification experience.
Mm-hmm.
And this applies to every use case. So that's why I've said before, it's not about how many components, it's about the quality of the component.
Mm-hmm. So, like, knowing all of what you know now and knowing the current state of Novu, what is your vision towards, for example, the milestones or the things that we are striving to achieve in half a year, or like by the end of this year, or maybe by the first half of 2025? Like, what is our kind of goals and strategy?
The first goal is to have the best notification solution out there.
Mm-hmm.
And how are we going to achieve that? We are going to double down on the component movement, and we're going to build on what we currently have and build the best notification center out there.
Mm-hmm.
We will probably introduce more components because, as you said, there is one use case for the main notification center, but at the same time, there's way more notification use cases you can use in a real-time application.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is on the consumer side, on the notification consumer side. And then on the producer side, we want to make sure that we have the best way to define a notification workflow. Mm-hmm. That's why we're doing the new workflow definition. That's basically notification workflows as code. The goal, most of the stuff we'll do for the next couple of months or by the end of 2024 will be around that, mm-hmm. in order to polish the very strong notification engine we currently have. So Novu is three pieces. It's basically triggering events and defining the workflows, the engine that processes all the data, the workflows, the triggers, the subscribers, the channels, mm-hmm. the feeds, and then the actual notification delivery part. We've started in the middle. We have a very strong engine, and right now our focus is triggering aspect and the workflow definition, as well as the channels. And the channel we control the most and we can do great things is the in-app notification center channel.
And in terms of the ease of maintaining those API-based components, are any kind of best practices or things that you are bringing with your experience to the current development cycles, and kind of how you bring your vision into what is being developed now?
The truth is that there are some learnings so far, but it's still in uncharted territory in a lot of things. The best way to describe this is that sometimes I feel like building embeddables, but real embeddables, not iframe embeddables or web component embeddables with isolation, shadow roots, etc. is actually at a very early stage, because the truth is that we do have to face a lot of challenges. The mindset is different than building from an application with global state, with frameworks, well-established frameworks like Next.js. And there's a lot of learnings when it comes to it. Maintaining them is a bit harder than expected, but at the same time, if we apply strong engineering principles, we apply the same versioning, we make sure that we have telemetry, we make sure that all of our SDKs out there basically respect the protocols that we've set, and most importantly, we make sure that the DX we offer is great. I don't expect big issues. It's a lot of work, but we know what's coming.
I know that once, I'm not sure the origin of the ideation for the current, at least by the current name, the Novu Echo, but I do remember that was, I think, the first occasion that I saw you, and that it was kind of really maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks before you kind of officially joined. But I do remember that you were with the team in terms of in some form of a hackathon, something that okay, we have an idea, we have kind of a lightning strike that how we might do stuff and how it might just be better and kind of go to the next level. So I know that the team kind of went on this very hard sprint and kind of hackathon phase, and I saw you there for the first time. Can you maybe share that kind of perspective, like when you first heard it and when you were ideating with the team about how it should look like, and from the developer's perspective and from developer experience, what do you think was the most important things to tackle at the time?
I think this was a natural, let's say, conclusion after Novu being an open source solution for almost 2 years. Let me explain why. Novu right now has a cloud UI-based workflow definition step. The truth is that, because I'm also now learning the Novu history, so it all makes sense. Novu started with a stateless library. Right. It was just one NPM package that you could aggregate a lot of channels, and you could actually define the workflow in the code. There was no engine, no digestion, no delays, no fan-out mechanism. Like, none of the engine was not there. But the idea is very similar to what we're trying to do now. The package is still out there. You can find them in NPM. It's called Novu Stateless. And the truth is that what we're trying to do right now is basically that idea, but on steroids, with state and memory. Yeah. When we started talking about this, it just made sense. It's one of these things that as soon as you hear it, you're like, yeah, this is what we need to do. There was no debate about whether this is the right direction or not. It clicked immediately. And that's why we said, okay, let's do a hackathon. Let's do a POC. Just to because it clicked, but at the same time, we also realized that this is hard, because it's, it's state between workflow executions. The workflows can last for years or weeks or months, and you need to be able to basically, to maintain the state, make sure that it's gonna run, and also make sure that you have the stats of what happened so far, like what's the current status of the workflow if it's in progress. So that's why we did the hackathon. It lasted for about a week. We had a working POC that proved that we can do this, and it's actually, we validated the hypothesis we had, and we were more excited about it after that. But then we also realized, okay, now we have to roll up the sleeves and actually do the work. The other thing that was very, very important is that at the moment, we also realized that this kind of solves 3 or 4 major pain points that the customers were reporting so far. Because if you do UI, you are entering the WYSIG, what you see, what you get era. And based on experience, I always say very few WYSIG editors are actually WYSIG. In most of them, you don't get what you see. or you get it with some small variations, but I mean, the result is the same.
Yeah.
So doing it in the code felt like felt like us unblocking a lot of our customers as well. And by the way, fun story, Echo is the internal name. I don't know if we should say this in public, but I mean, it's already in our docs. We won't probably call it Echo. The reason is that I can elaborate a bit on that. We don't want we don't want customers to feel that this is a different thing. This is Novu. This is still Novu. Like it's our new recommended way of defining your workflows. You can also define them in the UI because these things will be in sync.
Yeah.
But it's our, let's say, complete way of defining your workflows.
Yeah, basically kind of, yeah, I would not really call it a particular feature, but yeah, I mean, I guess just a way of, the complete way of doing and handling workflows. I guess it's mainly covering this.
Exactly.
So now that you kind of know where we are going with the Novu workflow, or kind of Novu code first workflows, what do you think would be the next stage, or how do you think would be the most intuitive way for developers? I'm still kind of, for a very long time, because we were always open source company, it was very not natural for me to call developers customers. So I really kind of always going for what would developers would find the most intuitive in terms of generating this workflow and maintaining it within their code base, within sync with their databases. Like we have a way of, we had the way of how we done stuff before, but what do you think is it will primarily change for the developer right now that will be exposed to Novu and the workflow building motion?
I think the first and the most important thing is basically we're removing all the limitations that developers were facing in their current workflow definitions. The truth is that developers speak programming languages. So they know, I mean, it's very easy for a developer to define a workflow in pseudocode. They can do it in a minute.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we're giving them. On the other hand, doing it in the UI means that the first time you interact with the system, you have to learn the UI. You have to understand what each button does.
Yeah.
And then the second time, you will be a bit faster. The third time, you're going to be a bit faster. The fourth time, you're going to be a bit faster.
Yeah.
But then you're going to realize, I need to do this advanced thingy. And right now, I cannot do it. So I have to do a hack around it. But when you think in code, I think you have more freedom. And at the same time, because this code eventually will run in your own application and will live in your own repo, you trust it more and you have more control.
I see. So when the general approach for now is, like when we're talking about code first approach, is that the workflow is being created and maintained within the developer's app, like within the code base of what they are currently building, what they're currently developing. And do you think that they could, even right now with what we have and what we are offering them, they could build something much more significant? And what actual the shortcuts or the convenience that we offer as Novu? Like, again, I'm a developer, for example, and I'm telling you, or I'm getting a request or a ticket that I need to develop some sort of a component that, let's go with the sign up component. How Novu is getting into my development process?
I mean, the best way to describe this is the fact that, first of all, we want to give them all the DX they need to figure it out fast. and achieve the goal they want easily without thinking too much and without getting into the nitty-gritty details of how that tool works. It has to feel intuitive to them. And I think the other way to describe this is that it's a hard, like I'm writing code for something that I could build myself, but I'm actually reusing a system to achieve what I want to achieve. And I don't have to spend 3 months to build a fully fledged notification center. I can have it in my code. I can have it in my repo. I'm going to reuse the API. It's right there. It works for me. I control it. But at the same time, I can be a hero. Like we want to make the developer a hero. And we want them to provide to their PMs and their teams top-notch experiences in hours instead of months or days or I don't know, maybe years if you are doing something very, very, very complicated. So we are taking all the hard part away, but we leave the control of, okay, you have a very good system, use it any way you want. There's no limitations, but leave the hard part on us.
From your experience, ingraining something or integrating something, a system like Novu and the SDKs that we are providing and all those kind of stuff into an existent working, let's go with established app or established kind of systems. How hard do you think would it be for developers that got an assignment that include some sort of a notifications? How hard would it be for them to ingrain Novu into their code base within their company and actually help maybe the other developers or the other team members to realize that, yeah, we have done a lot to develop a notification system. We have done a lot to maintain, for example, some sort of a logic, a workflow logic to communicate and deliver to our, let's call it end customers. For example, like if the marketing folks are trying to maybe communicate or promote stuff after particular actions that are being registered in the database, or some sort of kind of other logic that they just need to maintain and keep on developing and enhancing. What, like, again, how hard would it be for a developer to actually, after he discovers Novu and see like, okay, this is my solution, that's what's going to make me a hero? What is the actual steps and the process to get Novu in it, like get Novu in the door?
Okay, that's a very interesting one because I think it's all about activation. And initially, when we started talking about the code first approaches or the component approaches or basically anything that Novu offers today, we said that we want people again. We said we want developers or customers, if I may say,
nice.
to be able to integrate Novu and use it in hours. What I say is that we should be able to do this in minutes. Like the developer needs to realize that Novu is the right solution in minutes, and they need to be able to get a basic workflow up and running in the first 3, 5, 6 minutes. When they do that, then it's very easy for them to stick around and, make sure that Novu is the right tool for the job. Because they already got the value they were looking for. It's already, I don't want to use the term selling point, but it's a selling point. Even if it's an open source, it's completely free because this won't go away. Like Novu is and will remain the leading open source solution when it comes to notification. So it was a big teaching moment for them, and we already demonstrated the value very early on. And at the end of the day, they will be able to also deliver value to their customers fast. Because as you said, if the marketing department or anyone in the company wants to iterate fastly and test something, suddenly if the developer gets back to you and tells, okay, yeah, but I need 3 weeks to do that, you've lost all this ability to be agile. You lost all this ability to iterate fast, to evaluate the hypothesis, to see if you're doing the right thing. Right now, this is what it's all about. And the third thing that, it's crucial, and a lot of companies are talking about it right now. It's DX. In the more DX is the developer definition of product-led growth in a way. Like you have to have great DX that's intuitive, that inspires trust, and at the same time that teaches you about the product. That basically helps you figure out how the product works and how you can actually use it. It's a whole new thingy. I mean, developers were always opting for DX, but right now, because there's a lot of great tools out there with amazing DX, the expectations are getting much, much, much higher. Developers are not patient anymore. They're not as patient as they used to be 5 or 10 years ago, where they wanted a reverse proxy and they were patient enough to do an Apache Nginx and they could do it in their own instance. They just want to do it with a click of a button. They want to do it at the edge. They want to do it with cloud computing now. Like they want to do it in 5 minutes. So the bar is very high already.
Actually, that is kind of very good preparation to my next follow-up question. That maybe a bit difficult one, but I would like you to address that. Is when you, for example, as a developer, as a technical person, and maybe you don't have kind of to some point full ownership on a particular part of what you are developing in your company. What is your dilemma, or what do you consider when you see a solution that open source, totally kind of you can self-host it, run it in your instances, or just integrate and ingrain a cloud solution, basically a cloud service that, for example, what Novu is also offering. We're basically offering those two sides of the coin, where you can self-host it, you can kind of maintain it and go all the way with what we already have built, but you can also go with much more simpler way, with the one click away way to just let's call it become a hero and just fix your problem and kind of solve and reduce your pain instantly. So how would you approach that as a technical person, as a developer, and what would you think if you will put yourself in the shoes of developers that might consider Novu?
The market is very big and every company has different needs. The truth is that the quickest way to get started with is the cloud approach. And this is not Novu specific. This applies to everything nowadays. I think that right now we have already established the fact that cloud is to be trusted, but there are still some industries that have stricter legislations, stronger privacy concerns. They handle very critical data that they will need to protect at all costs, and that's why the self-hosted option remains timely relevant. I cannot, my ideal scenario is that everybody should move to the cloud. I think that eventually we will get there. In the same way, companies started trusting AWS and Google for their hardware instead of actually, buying their own machines and storing them in the office with hardware and IT teams and spending a lot of money on electricity and bills. They started using computing as a service in a way. We're not there yet, but eventually I think that we will all get there when it comes to software as a service or their tools. So yeah, Novu's plan is to continue supporting both at the same time. We are fully aware of the fact that this is going to be way more painful for us, but at the same time, we're that's why we're building a very strong team. We want to offload. We want developers, our customers, to offload this pain to us.
And what are the challenges? I mean, again, this was much more of a general question that kind of as an approach and how you look at stuff and how we maybe as a company look at this. But what what in your eyes or from what you see currently are the challenges that that we can expect within Novu? Like we are developing. I know that our developers and the developers that are using Novu and our community constantly keeping an eye for the roadmap that we publicly putting out there to know what's coming, what's what's ahead, what they can expect. So what, in your opinion and in your position, what challenges do you see?
The biggest challenge right now is to make sure that as we grow as a company and as a product, we are able to maintain the velocity in shipping and delivering value to our customers. This is the main challenge. If you take into account that we're talking about a product with different offerings, cloud offering plus on-prem offering, the enterprise on-prem offering is kind of, let's say, another variant of the of Novu. That also means even more work for us. And this is going to be one of the main challenges we're going to have to face for the next couple of months until we deploy the necessary automations that's going to help us towards that goal. The other challenge is that we need, at some point, because the notification system has insane demand when it comes to scalability. So imagine companies like Facebook or Instagram or Google using a system like Novu for their notification, or Slack. I think Slack is a better example. And imagine Novu having 50 customers. I'm not going to say 5,000 or 5 million, 50 customers like this. Suddenly, scalability and performance become a very, very, very interesting problem. And I'm not saying we're there yet, but we want to be there. That's the goal. That's where we want to get. And we want to be the de facto notification solution. So another challenge is to make sure that as we do this and we remain open source, we will be able to build a robust and scalable and performant system. At this point, I also want to raise the fact that there's a lot of great open source software, but there's also a lot of great closed source software, especially in the cloud. In the cloud, usually the software is mostly around, closed source backend, open source SDKs. So it's kind of a mixed model, but the truth is that the backend, that is 90% of the stuff, is usually closed source. So we don't want to ruin the community edition. We don't want to have an inferior experience when it comes to the community edition by picking closed source solutions. We have to be very, very smart about the software we pick as a dependency, and at the same time making sure that we use it in a way that makes our system extremely scalable and performant. So yeah, these two challenges, like make sure my velocity remains, and making sure that scalability and performance will never become a problem for our customer.
Nice. And I think it's going to be maybe our last question, because again, if anyone would ever want to ask something and would like to maybe chat with some of the team, we have the Discord always available. And again, we are constantly we are working on GitHub, so you can see all the conversations and all the things that are happening before a pull request is getting merged, so you can actually track the process, and of course kind of everything else that we put out there in terms of changelog, release notes, and so forth. But I do want to maybe ask one last question: is there something that you are very excited about?
Oh, you mean in Novu or in general?
Yeah, and let's go in. Okay, we can go in both ways if you want.
In Novu, I'm very excited about the people. I'm really looking forward to work with all of them and making sure that we make the best notification solution out there. The team is really strong. The first couple of months have been very exciting, but I still feel I'm onboarding. I'm not where I want to be 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I'm very excited about. The other thing I'm very excited in general is that it's almost summer, so the weather is nice, and I'm gonna get spend more time at the beach. I'm always excited about that.
That's amazing. So we do have few questions from the audience. And by the way, I just want to mention that we, like in this stream, we have more than at least 65 people who are watching us live. So feel free just to drop an hello in the chat and tell us where you are joining us from. And of course, if you have any questions that we might manage to cover right now, it would be amazing. But we actually do have two questions, as I see for now.
Mm-hmm.
So Richard asked, are there any plans to offer a Vercel-like template store for pre-built notification as code workflows?
Yes. It's not the top priority because right now the priority is to define the DX around the whole feature, but definitely we would love people from the community to contribute and bring their amazing implementations of any type of notifications for any channel into I don't want to call it a marketplace, more of a showcase in a way, because I don't think, this is a market in a way, in terms of there's no price when it comes to these things. And basically empower the community into reusing amazing notification patterns.
Yeah, we have some time ago something that we released. It's called notification directory. I think that you can still navigate to that domain and see kind of just bunch of use cases and just already pre-made notification for different use cases. So like what we do encourage and really call the community for is to maybe take that, or again, bring your own use cases and build the workflow of how you would communicate with your users and what do you think would be the best notification experience, and just let the others also to learn from it. Because like if this, if this word would spread across as much as possible, it means that we all sooner or later will benefit from much better notification experience, because people will start to understand that, okay, there is actually a better way to communicate and to notify our users that something is up, or how to engage them better. So it's definitely something that definitely much more community and people driven. So just let us know what you have in mind in terms of those code first workflows. We have another question from Naveen. What's the inspiration with Novu Echo Code First Workflow Engine? That's a brilliant idea. Love it, guys. Yeah, so
that's a great feedback. Naveen, I think the inspiration is what I've said before. Like, if for a technical person, defining a workflow in code is very easy. It's as easy as designing a flowchart on a napkin. Like, you can draw some boxes and then you can draw arrows between them. If you try to do this in the UI, you're going to face limitations because of the WYSIWYG limitation we said before. Doing it in the code, for a technical person, I think it's way, way easier, because we are already instructing developers to use their tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think that is going to be a good wrap-up point. So Socrates, I want to thank you again for joining us for these office hours for the first time. Totally not for the last time. So make sure to keep your calendar open.
Yeah, I will.
And yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. I really believe that the audience and the people who watch this or will watch it sometime in the future, because it's going to be also uploaded to our YouTube channel, we'll definitely find some sort of value or benefit into the insights of what is Novu and what actually drives us and the logic behind everything. So again, thank you for sharing with us your perspective, Socrates, and it was an amazing experience for me. And yeah, man, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Likewise, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right, bye everyone.